And we are live here at my channel, Loudmouth Reviews, and I'm here with my good friend and patron, HUMANE Minds. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good today.
Good to hear. Let me bring up the chat, see if anyone's watching this. Probably not yet, but we don't have any viewers yet, but who fucking cares? All right, this is mostly just a chat between us. We'll pretend we're not. We're just chatting. But yeah, the whole red pill black situation. I noticed you kind of like defending her in on Twitter, and I was kind of just wondering, what's your mindset on the whole situation? Why do you think that do you think the Tree of Logic and others who've been highly critical of her, you think they're unfair?
Oh, no, I think Tree of Logic is completely unfair and completely unsupported in her claims. So her original, and this is what got me, this is what immediately put me on Candace's side as far as being defensive, because her claims seem to be completely unfounded. So as far as she's saying that the website was up and running and it was going to be live in 3 weeks, and I'm like, wait a minute, is this the same site? But it's she could be operating off of information that the rest of us don't have. But I looked at the site, and so I guess I got to put out my credentials there. This is what I do for a living. I make 6 figures a year making websites for people. So it's actually, and I'm actually what I'm going to school at the moment for in addition to that. And I'm actually starting up my own website. So I'm going through the same steps that Candace would have gone through in order to create her website. And so that's why when I'm hearing people making these statements about it, I'm like, that's not how any of this works. That's not how. So when she's saying that it's going to be up in 3 weeks, that is a possibility, but not from what I can see as far as the current state of the site. Because the current state of the site, or at least, well, now it's completely gone. But
now it's completely gone.
At the time when Tree of Logic made her video, the site was not functioning the way that she was telling everybody it was functioning. And I can tell that because you can hit F12 and you can step through a program. So it's F12 is this I mean, if you guess you're on Windows, I'm not sure what it is on Mac, but if you're on Windows and you open up a browser and you hit F12, it pulls up this list of things that you can actually check, and that's the information that your browser is receiving and sending. And you can track networking, you can track the HTML, you can look at what all is being displayed. Now some of the times you can't figure out how Windows knows what is being displayed. So that's not something I can analyze with my current set of tools. Like I said, I'm on, I'm not sure if I said that, but I am currently on vacation, so I'm just using a laptop. So my research and analysis isn't as in-depth as it normally would be. All of my tools are on my home PC and stuff like that. So this is just from what I can tell. From what I can tell using my laptop and using the basic things that I would use to troubleshoot a website, the site does not appear to be functioning. And one of the so all of these people who are claiming you can submit data, if you can submit data, I'm not sure how it's being done, because from what I can tell, when I hit submit on the form, nothing is sent, nothing leaves that page. It gives you a success message, and that's it. Now, in order to set that up for a website, I could probably create that and slap one together that does the exact same thing in like 45 seconds, or not 45 seconds, 45 minutes, and it would look just the same as the social autopsy page. But it would look like it's working, but it wouldn't work. And usually, she keeps calling it a splash page, and I think that shows her naivety when it's talking about computers and websites and all that sort of thing. I would say it's more of a mock-up, because it's something we do all the time. Customer comes to us with an idea, we're like, okay, yeah, we can do that idea. We put together a basic look of the site and the basic functionality of the site. As far as it doesn't work, it looks like it works, because that's what we present to them to say, hey, is this what you're going for? Is this the type of site that you're looking for? So it's got this page, this page, and this page, and this is how you want your users to log in and how you want your users to interact with it and what you expect them to see. So that is a prototype, a mock-up. I mean, splash page is usually a more specific type of thing. It's usually like an ad in the front of the site, or like you know, a logo or whatever, or like some animated something or whatever that takes you to the main page. But so I think her terminology is off there. It could be that she's lying, which is the main thing I keep hearing is, oh, she's intentionally lying. And I'm like, see, this quote is called Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice what can be easily, oh, dang it, I'm screwing up the quote. Never attribute to malice what can be easily explained with stupidity. And that's what I think this is. It's her ignorance, and I don't know what her degree in, but I can guarantee you it's not in building websites. It's not in technology.
Well, and you're referring now to Tree of Logic or Candace?
No. Well, I'd say both. Neither of them seem to have any kind of background in tech. So, you know,
well, Tree of Logic, though, she admits that she's a former police officer. Yeah. That was her kind of
her background seems to be a police officer as opposed to someone who makes websites for a living.
Yeah. Right, and I'm not going to dispute anything in terms with you on web design, because I took a class on web design a few years ago, and I passed it, but I did rather poorly, and I certainly haven't worked in any field in it. So you obviously know a lot more about web design than I do.
So this is the position I find myself in, is I am not sure if Candace is 100% true or if she is lying or anything like that. But I find myself having to defend her because I'm like, okay, the claims you guys are making are either circumstantial or you're making claims that are outright false because I can prove it. And this is something I've posted on Twitter is I'm like, okay, this is what I'm seeing on my end, and I'm not seeing any information leaving that page. So it is possible, and this is something that I'm trying to figure out, but I don't know if I have a good way to figure that out in my current situation. Because Suit Yourself released the video, and he's going through and saying, hey, look, these are actual profiles that existed on the site. And I just saw Andy Worski posted a couple minutes ago a video saying, hey, these are actual users, and we were able to find these profiles, and we were able to we were able to find them on Facebook. So maybe others have spent way more time and investigated this more thoroughly than I have. But I can say pretty confidently that as of Tuesday, when all of this started to come out and started to blow up, as of Tuesday, the site that was up that I was looking at did not seem to work. It could have worked prior to that. If so, I have no knowledge of that. I just know as of Tuesday when I was looking at it, I'm like, no, it looks like it looked to me like a prototype, like a mock-up site.
Even granting all that, though, Dave Cullen's video, he pointed out something that's very, and I wanted to hear your opinions on this point, okay? He pointed out that after Tree of Logic started investigating Candace, all right, she basically made several modifications to the website immediately after. Why only make modifications? Why not just bring the whole thing down? If anything, it would take more effort to modify it the way she did, or her developers did, than it would be to just remove the entire site. If she was already red-pilled, as we say, and already agreed that this whole doxing site was a terrible idea, why only do that? That does seem incredibly suspicious, does it not?
So yes and no. The actual modifications to the website, it's just a select all, delete. That's all she would needed to do on those 2 pages. Open up the file.
Wouldn't it be just as easy to delete the whole site? Wouldn't deleting the whole site be just as easy?
Yes and no. So depends on how complicated the actual mock-up is. Because sometimes a mock-up can be built within a day or a couple hours or a couple weeks. I'm not sure how complicated hers was, but it could be it could be set up over multiple places.
From my limited experience in programming. Well,
Yeah.
From my limited experience in programming, all right, from my experience modifying a program in a certain way and just crashing the whole thing, deleting it altogether, modifying it is usually a hell of a lot more difficult. So, all right, from what I've done in programming.
If the modification is removing information, that's really easy. That's the same thing as deleting the file itself.
It's deleting the file, yeah.
But she did say, I don't know if you saw her explanation on InfoWars when I asked a question about it, is she said she didn't. Okay. Yes. So her explanation when asked the question about why it's still up is she said she didn't want to look like she was hiding something. because
well, you failed in that regard, big time.
yeah, yeah, kind of failed because people are saying she's hiding something even when it was up. So I'm not sure what to think at this moment as far as all of that goes. I know if I was in the position and I'm like, I already paid for a website, I already paid for the domain, I don't have to do anything from this point out. I can just wait till it disappears, because that's what happens. Is you like right now, like the site that I'm building,
I heard about that. It was set to like disappear in January, I think.
Yeah. So the site I'm building, I reserved it. Well, I bought my domain. My domain is for 2 years, but you can go to my domain right now and it doesn't do anything. It's just a page that says, "Hey, this domain is owned. You can try to buy it from me for like a couple $1,000." But it's a domain. If the domain is an address, it's like a building. Like, hey, she rented an office and she rented it for a year at a time. Usually domains, they try to sell them at 2 years at a time. So I bought mine for 2 years. But you can rent it for a minimum of a year, because that's all you're doing is you're renting a space. So it's the same thing as like I go downtown, I buy an office building, I set up my company in that office building. I could easily rent any other office building downtown and move my company there. It doesn't. The address doesn't affect the website. And this is something else I've seen people is like, oh, she just parked her domain, and then she can easily move to another place. And I'm like, yes, there's nothing stopping her from, even right now. If the site is working the way they say it works, there's nothing stopping her from taking that exact same site, moving it and calling it something else, and hey, we're back to square one. We're back exactly where we started. So okay, I don't get the whole domain. Oh, the domain is still part. I'm like, are you guys? That's a building that I'm just goes out of business. The whole thing has the sign on the door, and you're like,
hold on. I was just watching her video clips of when she was selling this site. They apparently were recorded last year in 2016. And they were quite frightening, particularly when she says things like about children. When she was asked about doxing children, she says, children's words should they should be held liable just as adults are. But children aren't seeking jobs or anything like that, so it won't really affect them. I'm like, kids are going to grow up, okay? And that information that they said, like, as a troll move when he's 11 years old, Hitler did nothing wrong or some shit like that, and then an employer then, like, out looking for a job, an employer looks up, oh, my God, he said Hitler did nothing wrong. Well, can't hire him. Let's move on to the next applicant. That seems like a way to ruin people's lives. And particularly when you said, when you were talking with Ranting Monkey, you said something that kind of was a little shocking to me when you said that something about children not needing to be held accountable. That rang like really.
Yeah, I know. So it's something to the extent of if a child the reason I was making that argument is because from my perspective it sounded like they were making appeals to emotion. But think about the children. I'm like, so if a children is being a dickhole, or a child is being a dickhole, you should be like, oh no. He's a child. We can't do anything. And you're like,
well, kids are stupid.
No, I mean, was the fact
that kids are stupid, and the main thing is, you punish kids when they do stupid shit. I'm all for that, okay? But I don't think if a kid does something stupid online when they're 12, that when they're 25, that should be like brought up in their face when they're trying to seek a job. I think that's bullshit, you know?
Well, the fact that anybody would do that sort of thing, use that information about them when they were younger, that speaks more towards the person who is judging someone based on their past than it does to the person who actually said the thing or the site that made that information available. So that seems like a very that seems like a very it seems very flawed in its thinking, because say that person was over the age of 18 and they were busted for drugs. Well, that follows them for the rest of their life, and that does show up on your actual resume. So if they were,
I believe that's a problem as well.
But if they were 17 and a half and they were busted for drugs, well, that doesn't follow them for the rest of their life. 6 months can make the difference of your life being completely ruined in the way that people currently view children. And so this site has all kinds of problems. But using that particular argument, I was trying to point out the flaw in logic. And like, oh, but think of the children. And I'm like, that doesn't really work here, because this you're talking about. So I guess I have to specify from what she says about the purpose of the site. The purpose of the site was for bullies and for people who are harassing people online. Now, the definition of harassment and bullying is, as we've seen, it's not consistent. Like,
well,
you know,
and here, I remember back to when me and you were challenging Bearing over the whole AIU thing, and AIU's justifications for doxing the kids he did. Oh, it sounded very similar. Like, I've had AIU fans say, "Oh, they'll teach that kid a good lesson. You know, the kid shouldn't be mouthing off if you can't sign his name to it." And I think that's a load of shit. I mean, but I think here's the thing. With Devin Tracy, showing that he's a malicious is extremely easy because he made it extremely easy.
Yes.
He basically he went in there and screamed, "Suck my balls, millennials. You've just been true docs. Fuck your anonymity." Whereas with Candace Owens, she says it all sweetly. "Oh, I'm just trying." She's a nice, pretty face. She's sweetly saying, "Oh, I'm just trying to fight bullying online." But if the end results seem very similar, all right? It's just that she's much better at marketing it, whereas AIU makes being an abrasive dickhole his whole persona.
Yes, but in my mind, it is the difference between manslaughter and murder, right? So its intent is where, in my position, from what I can tell, AIU does it maliciously on purpose. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's pre-planned. He knows that what he's doing is wrong and still does it anyway. Whereas in Candace's situation, is she was trying to help somebody, and well, had she gone through with the site and had it been successful, it would have ended up hurting people.
It was.
So not better, because people are still being hurt, and that's what we're trying to avoid in the whole situation.
Yeah. Potentially, that site could have done a lot more damage than anything Devin Tracy ever did. Him and his fans have doxed, what is it, a few dozen people maybe? Whereas that site could have potentially doxed thousands, and it could have been used by Islamists. This is what really was the most frightening idea. What if somebody who's a critic of Islam and some SJW, look, this guy's a bigot against Islam, uploads all their information, and Islamists use that site to hunt them down. That's very frightening.
Yeah, very frightening. The potential for damage is huge, but to judge her based on, because this is something that I saw from the Triologic, from what she was claiming, is that that was Candace's intent, and you're like, I can't go with you there. I'm with everybody else saying this site is terrible, and actually the site that I'm creating right now is actually of the opposite perspective. I'm trying to provide people with additional anonymity. Not less anonymity. Whereas this site was designed to remove anonymity altogether. So we're in a weird position where if the internet was set up to begin with, where there was no anonymity, then people would treat each other like they would in real life. Because I mean, in real life, people tend to act differently than when they do on internet because of that anonymity provided. So if we had a system where there was no anonymity for anybody, then, well, you wouldn't need her site to begin with, but then the idea behind her site wouldn't be as terrible, because people would be held accountable for their actions. The problem with her site right now is that the internet does provide anonymity. And as such, that anonymity needs to be allowed to as many people as possible. It's like guns. So from the idea behind the social autopsy is the same thing as like, oh, well, we need to take away all guns because criminals are using guns. It's the same mentality, right? It's the blinders of, but guns exist and we can't get rid of guns, so the best solution is to make sure that everybody has access to guns, right? The idea behind her website should have been a leftist wet dream, right? It's the, hey, we're taking away people's ability to be anonymous.
But leftists rejected her, and then she like disappears for a few months and like, now I'm a conservative. I agree. That all seems very phony. All right, the whole thing seems like a con. It absolutely. So the suspicion is massive. There.
So there is reason to be suspicious. I mean, it's the same kind of thing with Lacey Green. Is when Lacey Green was supposedly, became conservative, although she never really did. She
never really came conservative. She just said, I'm open to talking.
Yeah, it's everybody's like, oh, she's trying to infiltrate us. She's trying to do all this malicious stuff. And I'm like, are you guys No, the correct approach is to be like, okay,
A little cautious.
I don't have a reason. It's caution. It's caution. But hey, if somebody's willing to switch sides, are we gonna like? If we take that same approach to everyone who's trying to switch sides, there's like nobody's gonna switch. So what's the point of all of these skeptic channels? What's the point of all of these?
Right, people kind of genuine changes of heart. I've had different positions today than I used to have on many things.
Yes.
I was once a Christian, now I'm an atheist.
Yeah,
what have you? But the point, the way though she just suddenly disappeared after trying to sell something to one side of this political spectrum, disappears and then comes to the opposite side of the spectrum, and then is more successful at raising money for the exact same project. That's a little different than Lacey Green, which is just like, I'm open to talking to the other side.
No, so
this really seems like it's hustle there.
Raising money for the same project. Is she raising money for that project?
Yeah.
Like what?
She did still raise money for that Kickstarter as a conservative, and it's true that she blew up really fast. Yes, I believe that wasn't Tree of Logic's video. I believe, yeah.
The only
she was still
Tree of Logic is the only one who I've heard assert that claim, and I have not seen any evidence for it. If that is the case, then yes, then Candace is a complete liar and a shill in this sort of instance.
But many of her defenses also seem incredibly disingenuous. Like I read her saying that her critics were being paid off by the left. There's no evidence of that. I mean,
no,
I've been critical of her. George Soros hasn't sent me a check. I mean, like, what the hell? Where's my check from George Soros for criticizing you, Candace? I haven't got one.
Well, it's the case of there's so much misinformation on both sides. Now, I'm not sure what she's talking about when she's saying some people are paying off, but that is typically the I mean, she's not the only person saying that there's a conspiracy and that sort of thing. As far as when something bad happens and there's a lot of people doing that something, or bad from her perspective, not as I don't know if it's overall bad. Hey, all of you guys might be in the correct. I mean, I don't know where you are exactly, but the people who are saying that she isn't really a conservative, people are saying she's still funding the site, they may be all correct. But as far as I know, there's no evidence to back that. And so then from her position, all these people are attacking her without evidence. And she's like, well, this looks like a concerted effort. This seems, so it's the whole being backed by George Soros and all that sort of thing. Well, that is the claim that many people are making about Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and you can trace the money back to it. But it's possible that she may think that that is what is going on. So the fact that people are calling her a liar for this, to me, that seems just as disingenuous. I don't think many of the people. I think she's paranoid and is seeing, let's see, what's the word? Seeing Charlie in the trees. She's seeing enemies everywhere.
It looks like she's playing on the whole sympathy, the woman's sympathy card. All these people are out to get a poor defenseless pretty woman like me. That's what it seems like she's playing. I see strains of that, which is a classic thing that women who are in a hustle will do. That's what it seems like. That's how
it's not paranoia if everybody is really out to get you.
Yeah, but I'm certainly not being paid to get her, and I've made many critical statements about her on Twitter. I mean, I'm sure all the other people who've come after her for this, Dave Cullen, Andy Worski, Suit Yourself. All right, I don't think George Soros is paying these guys off. Yeah, I think, or Raining Monkey, what have you. I think these people have genuine ethical concerns about this site that she's running. Yes. All right, and genuine ethical and genuine suspicions about her honesty that I think are very legitimate.
Yes, so I'm with them on that, but when they're making claims about this site still being up and still being operational, and I'm like, from everything I can tell, I mean, like I said, I can only do so much to research on my end, but
I understand.
Yeah, so but from everything that I could tell, from what I can see on my end, is it wasn't functioning the way that they were saying, and that's what I was trying to fix. And I was trying to tell people, I'm sending screenshots of stuff, and I'm like, guys, if this is working, why does she need $75,000? If it is working the way that they're saying it's working, what else is left? A search page? Are you kidding me? I could slap together a search page for a database in a day. That's not $75,000. That's what, like maybe $700. If that. So that's what I'm not understanding in this situation is they're claiming there was a database. But usually when you're doing a prototype, there is no database. So now I'm talking about making a mock-up.
Tree of Logic specifically claimed that her data was on Candace's site. She was definitely playing up this like that Candace was like out to harm her really in her videos. So it was quite personal. Her her opposition to like Candace Owens seemed like Candace Owens is someone out to get me, you know, kind of deal.
Well, that's the other thing I don't get is why so many people are siding with Tree of Logic, and I'm like, the same Tree of Logic that went to bat for Rage After Storm and Tara McCarthy, but that Tree of Logic, right?
She went to bat for Rage After Storm. I don't. Oh, I wasn't. I have been following her long, honestly.
So.
Oh, that seriously.
But she was the first one that I saw make a video on this, and it seemed to be after her making the statement or making her video
other people.
that this blew up. Yeah, there a bunch of other people tagged on, and they started looking. They started making the same argument she was making, and I'm just like. It's really made me start to question the whole skeptic community or all these people. It's like, well, how much research is really done? And is it more piggybacking off of what other people are doing and repeating all those statements as facts? So what that does is if the initial video is not factual, then that means everybody else is spreading misinformation. And that's...
Well, let's be honest. That's something the skeptic community or what the anti-SJW sphere of YouTube have done pretty much forever. Do you see that Logic video, the debunking Armored Skeptic? Well, that's a good example. He also showed that when he used this one Heat Street article as a source, and this was what's very interesting. He showed that several other big anti-SJW YouTubers used the exact same source. All right, so they were just copying off each other. It was Monday Matt, Roaming Millennial, Andy Worski, and what was the Gad Seed. Those are the four. Okay, they were all basically just copying off each other and saying the same thing.
And that article was their only source. Yeah.
And whereas Logic went back to the original law and showed that article got it completely wrong. That was a fantastic piece of skepticism. I told Logic to write that to his face when I had him on my channel. That video was just a fantastic piece of research, and that's a problem I've noted about that whole sphere of YouTube. A lot of them do just seem to copy off each other. Tealier's also noted that all the time. That's one of the main things I like about him is he calls out other skeptic channels when they do that.
Yeah, so I get the so I get starting off from the same point, because that seems to be what most people have done with Tree of Logic, and actually that's what started me in investigating it, was seeing that video, and I'm like, wait, have I been wrong about this person, and are they actually seriously trying to make this site? Because if so, that's pretty dangerous. But then when I looked into it, I'm like, okay, this is a mountain out of a molehill. But
it's undeniable that she at least was at one point trying to build this site. It's undeniable that she was, and this is really dangerous stuff. I mean, that at any point in her life she thought that would be a good idea. All right,
well,
that is just.
Well, to be fair, people on the left tend to have well-intentioned ideas that have terrible consequences. I mean, pick anything that they've done over the last year. Like they supported Antifa, and then like, oh, Antifa's terrorists? Yeah, those guys are bad. Like, oh, well, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. Oh, they're burning down their own cities. Maybe just kind of cool it on the Black Lives Matter support.
Right, yeah.
So
I remember there was this one joke satire article on this one fake news site that said Black Lives Matter activist burns down his own home thinking it was a convenience store. It's fake. The article was fake. It didn't really happen, but I thought that was really fucking fun.
It's that Reagan quote. You know, if you're young and you're not a Democrat, then you have no heart, and if you're old and you're not a conservative, then you have no brain. Well, it tends to be. It seems more and more that people are continuing to remain brainless and staying on what is typically what's called the left now, because you can't just say Republican and Democrat as being the dividing, because there's a lot of Republicans who don't use their brains. And conservatives and liberals also doesn't apply anymore.
Yeah, like I've
there's a lot of liberals who.
I've called out the alt-right conspiracy theorists on the right on my side, and left-wing SJWs like Sarkeesian and stuff. I've kind of done a pretty equal amount of like both sides of the political spectrum in terms of what I focus on myself.
Yeah. So as far as I am concerned, left and right seem to be the only like actual way of distinguishing the two groups currently, because things are so scattered at the moment. But people on the left, from everything I can see, is they tend to react with their emotions, and they look at immediate situations and like what'll fix right now. And they don't think about the long term.
If Candace Owens really has like a total change of heart, has she ever actually admitted in that interview with InfoWars? I didn't watch it, but did she admit that what her site was a doxing site?
No, she has not admitted that. So
then she needs to come clean that she did at one point support a doxing site. That's undeniable that she did. She can say, I've had a change of heart. There was a stupid idea. I fucked up. And maybe I could buy that because
she continues to say that it is an anti-bullying site.
I think that's bullshit. She's lying. All right. That's not what this site is. This site is a far more dangerous tool than that. It's something that could potentially get people killed. It could potentially, it's more likely to enable bullies than it is to stop bullies.
Yes.
Right.
But that is the same thing like saying, you know, a gun. It's like, even if its intention is for defense and for it, you know, the fact that it is used for malicious purposes doesn't mean that the intentions are different. So that's something I'm struggling with and trying to resolve in my head, because from her mind, in her mind, it was legitimately an anti-bullying website, but there's no way to stop that anti-bullying website from becoming what it's trying to prevent. There's no way to safeguard against it being used for something other than its intended purpose. So I think she might still be under the perception that all it would ever be is to stop bullies.
See, if that's the case, she's a stupid person. All right, if she honestly believes that, she's an idiot. Okay, and I don't think she is. She comes across as smarter than that. She comes across as someone who really is deceitful and very manipulative. That is the kind of person that Candace Owens seems to my eyes. Yeah, so I can't obviously read
that's the part where I'm not catching on. So I'm still see the deceitful and you know, the malicious. I'm still seeing naive and, you know, hasn't thought this through. That's my perspective. I could be way wrong. I could be thinking with my penis instead of my brain.
It feels a little naive to me. Like not all like malicious people are Devin Tracy's. They're not all screaming lunatics who shout "suck my balls," millennials. Some of them are kind of sweet-talking people who seem like they have good intentions.
It is very possible that she's a sociopath and she's very good at what she does.
Did you ever see that episode of Star Trek? That speech at the end of an episode. I forgot which episode. I think it was in season 3. Well, villains who twirl their mustaches are easy to spot, but those who wrap themselves in good deeds are well camouflaged.
Yes.
All right. That's just what Candace Owens seems to me, a villain who wraps herself in good deeds. All right, I'm just making an anti-bullying site, but I'm really creating something that's malicious, something that could get people killed.
I get that, but that wasn't what she was trying to make, even if she did end up making something that would have turned into that. So again,
that's assuming she's an honest actor.
Yeah, assuming she's honest. That's the. Yes. I'm of the opinion that it's innocent until proven guilty. So everything that has occurred right now, from what I can see, is all circumstantial. And it seems like so many people are trying to convict without let's see, what's the word? What is it in murder convictions?
Due process?
Beyond a reasonable doubt. So in my mind, there is still a reasonable doubt, and there's so many people willing to claim, you know, guilty when there's still a reasonable doubt. It's it's still the innocent until proven guilty, and in my mind, there hasn't been enough to prove the guilty, whether she is malicious or not. You can
maybe I can give that, but from my eyes, from everything I've seen, it seems to lean far more towards her being malicious. Just from my personal perspective, and I could be wrong too. I could be misjudging the woman, but it just all looks really bad, you know.
Yeah, well, there's something else that a lot of people have been talking about lately, and I'm like, they're like, oh, well, now she's playing the race card, and I'm like, have you seen any of her content over the past month? That is her entire focus of her channel, is talking about the blacks and why they vote Democrat and why they tend to be leftist. And so
it just seems like she's telling conservatives what they want to hear.
No, it's so that what I'm saying is that her vlog channel is called The Myth of the Coon, and she's trying to destroy the myth of the coon. So that's why she's been focusing on her race for months, and nobody said anything about it until this website. And now they're like, oh, well, now she's just trying to pretend that we're against her because she's black. And like, she's been consistent in bringing up race into this because
Patty Politics Patty Politics, who follows me, and she's also a black conservative woman, she thought that it was disgraceful for a black conservative to play that card. She posted that.
Okay, that is a valid position.
I got to agree with her on that. I think it is in any circumstance. Even if she's done it before, it doesn't really excuse it.
I would say to a certain degree, except when you're actually talking to someone who is black and who has that leftist mentality. It doesn't matter what you come at with them, or what you come at them with as far as facts and figures and statistics and any kind of argument that you could make that could be completely rational. They will dismiss you as, you know, oh, but you're a white male. That's where that whole is like, oh, what would you know? You're not black. You don't know our situations. You know, you're not a victim. You're not oppressed. So the only way to reach a person with that type of mentality is to meet them where they are, and that's what I thought Candace was doing. I'm not so sure anymore. Now it's a big question mark for me.
That's what I thought she was doing as well.
People who wouldn't listen to me, people who wouldn't listen to you, people who wouldn't listen to Steven Crowder, they won't listen to, they won't listen to Sargon of Akkad, they won't listen to Jordan Peterson, but they might listen to her because in their mind, race is above everything else. So I'm not saying that bringing up race is a good thing, unless you're talking to someone who, their entire identity is their race.
Tariq Nasheed.
So, yeah, Tariq Nasheed. You're never going to reach a Tariq Nasheed.
No.
But someone like Candace, he might actually listen to, and I don't think you're ever going to reach Tariq Nasheed because I think he knows exactly what he's doing.
You think he's a pope, basically?
Yeah. I think he is intentionally doing the thing that he does.
That would make him a pope. That's the case. Yes.
Yeah.
I suspect he might be a pope as well because the things he says are just so absurd. It's
possible that he is legitimate. He legitimately thinks all of that sort of thing, which is pretty absurd. But it seems more likely that he is playing the part to the extreme because.
To make himself known, because people do know of him much more because he's out there and wacky, rather than if he was kind of middling and normal, people probably wouldn't know who the hell he was. That's kind of true.
Yeah, and because he's so extreme, you're like, it's impossible to tell whether he is doing it on purpose or whether that's actually what he thinks. So it's, but there are some people who put their race, where they identify themselves by their race, and in order to reach those people, like the Patty Politics may not be able to reach them because she doesn't care about her race, and her race isn't important to her. I say that's the kind of the correct position to be.
Right.
I think race is just as inconsequential as eye color or hair color, or.
Right. Yeah, it
is. It's something that is a part of you, but it is not the whole of you. It is not. It is a piece of the puzzle, not the puzzle itself.
There's genetic variation in human populations, yes, but ultimately, it's rather insignificant when you consider the amount of genetic variation that typically exists within species. Actually, human genetic variation is actually pretty limited. But like they found, like you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a Western lowland gorilla and Eastern lowland gorilla. Probably like 90% of the population wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Yet the genetic variation between those two populations is far more than any race of human, than any two people are.
Yeah, so I think we're on the same page there. But to change people's mindset, you have to reach them where they are. You have to try to find some area of common ground, and that's what I think, because Candace Owens was making all of her videos directly to the Black Democrats. That was her targeted audience, and so she was speaking to them with
That's
that
why
kind of
right-wing media
perspective.
kind of promoted her so much.
Yes. And so to see them attacking her for continuing to talk about her race now, that seems really bizarre to me. And I'm like, that's been a consistent part of her focus, and that's the demographic she's trying to reach. So to call her to say something about it now and say, oh, she's just playing the race card, I'm like, I don't get the, like I said, I don't see the angle where she is definitely manipulative and malicious. I'm not seeing.
Do you think that she should debate Tree of Logic? Do you think she should meet her on her own terms? I don't think she should debate
Tree of Logic. I think she should. No, because
I would have respect for her.
I don't think Tree of Logic is genuine. So out of all the people who have criticized her, I think Tree of Logic is the least likely to actually.
But if she were to really face off against Tree of Logic in a live stream debate and really defend herself against all the accusations, that I would have and I would definitely have respect for her doing that. Instead, she's blocked Tree of Logic, and she seems to want to just avoid it.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad way of handling it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, my judgment of her is,
as far as changing people's opinions, yes, it would be good for her to debate Tree of Logic, because most people are siding with Tree of Logic. As far as making progress, as far as with Tree of Logic, no, that debate wouldn't actually sway Tree of Logic.
No, the debate wouldn't be for that purpose. It wouldn't be to sway Tree of Logic. It'd be to sway the audience.
Who are supporting Tree of Logic, perhaps doing that debate would get them to see, oh, well, maybe we had this wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Without doing it in an Oxford-style debate, it's really difficult to tell if anybody's mind would actually be changed. Because usually in a debate, the people who agree with the one side stay with that one side, even once the debate is over.
Usually, but if it depends if, like, accusations, if somebody gets caught lying, it can often be very bad for them or something like that.
Yeah.
Like if she,
it's very,
like
very
if she
rare
shows,
to change sides.
If Tree of Logic is full of crap and all the accusations against her are false, she should be able to answer them and prove them false right to there and show the evidence on her side. She could do that, but instead she's not handling it well. No.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, I guess mostly.
So I don't know what I would do in her position. I just know. I mean,
that depends.
Because I would be thinking from my perspective, I'm like, oh, I could just show them and be like, dude.
We don't know her perspective, though. We don't know if she's really, like I said, whether she's like that villain of that episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Whether she's that kind of person deep inside, but is hiding herself under a sweet veneer.
Yeah.
And wrapping a good.
Very possibly a wolf in sheep's clothing. I mean, but then again, you can say that of anybody, and that's what I'm. I get the suspicion, I get the caution, but I don't get the treating it like it's an absolute that she is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
I'm not treating it as an absolute, but I'm just saying that's what it seems most likely to me. I'm not treating it as an absolute.
But there are a lot of people who are like, oh no, she's definitely. So like when Snoop made his video, and he's been tweeting about this, and he's been saying, she parked the website, that she's going to bring the website back, and I was like, so you're insisting that she's definitely going to make this website a reality. possibility. But the other thing is, there's nothing stopping anyone else from making that website right now. That website has no significant new technology. It has no unique about that website. It is a database. It is a repository. Anybody can make that.
There are places like that on the deep web. Are you familiar with revenge porn sites?
Yes. So it's.
Wouldn't that be an example of such a thing?
What is that called? The place where Bering got exposed. That website.
That would be Encyclopedia Dramatica. That's what exposed Bering.
Yeah, Encyclopedia Dramatica.
Yeah.
That already exists, and everybody's like, oh, I don't see anybody calling for somebody to take that thing down. But that's what Encyclopedia Dramatica
Honestly,
is doing.
I wouldn't mind if it was taken down after some of the shit they pulled. I mean, doxing people the way they did is very unethical.
Yeah, I think it should be taken down, but that exists right now, and people aren't up in arms about that website.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, as far as I know, anybody can submit anything on there. And so I think the big difference between Candace's site and Encyclopedia Dramatica is it actually had some buzz built around it because of the Kickstarter campaign, and it was getting some media attention and all that sort of thing. Whereas Encyclopedia Dramatica, which actually I don't know if we should be talking about it here, because isn't that giving it press? It's so, it's like walking on eggshells. Everything you do is the wrong move because you ignore it. Yeah, you tell people not to go there, and that's the Barbra Streisand effect. But you have to talk about it in order, because you have to acknowledge it exists. Otherwise, you couldn't. But
that's a thing when people say, thinking back on the whole what Christy Winters did there, I'm not 100% certain she did act maliciously as I used to be. I've kind of really thought about maybe she did just kind of make a dumb mistake in the way she handled it. Who knows? I can't read the woman's mind.
Maybe, but
when she spread that dox, yeah.
Who
knows?
Let me make sure if I have this correct. Hang on. I know I looked this up earlier, but I can never remember the name of it. So, sorry, give me 1 second. Oh, yeah, so the Gell-Mann effect, that was it. Okay.
The Gell-Mann
first guys. Yeah, do you know what the Gell-Mann effect is?
No, I don't think I've heard of that.
That's where you look at a newspaper and say you know a lot about sports, and you read the sports section, and you're reading the guy's analysis of the football game, and you're like, oh, dude, that guy's a freaking idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And then you look at another page, and it's talking about some new scientific advancement, and you're like, oh, these guys know what they're talking about, and it's written by the same guy, and so that's the Gell-Mann effect. When you know about a subject, you can spot when people are incorrect about that, and you're like, oh, well, those people are incorrect there, and you can tear that apart. And then when it's an area that you're not as familiar with, or you don't have all that information on, you tend to accept it from the expert. So that's what the situation I find myself in right now is
like something that happened to me because I probably watched like too many documentaries is I actually managed to correct this one. This guy at the zoo was giving facts about these animals, these lizards, and I actually showed them that he was wrong. I said, no, that's incorrect. That used to be what they thought was true, but they've proven that wrong. So he looked up, so he's like, no, you're wrong. I'm going to look it up online. He says,
so that's what I was
actually hired and paid to give this information, because you look.
Yeah, so our interactions with Bering have actually made me kind of question, maybe my perspective of Christy Winters and Tim Blake and those people. No, they're still kind of assholes and idiots, but my perspective on them has changed since our encounter with Bering.
It has. It really has. I now give her the benefit of the doubt, than I did before.
Because it's like, oh, well, Bering is no longer trusted, at least from my perspective, as a trusted and a valid source. So some of the things he's saying about other people, it's like, I'm taking everything he says with a grain of salt, and so that changed my perspective of the people that he goes after. And in the same situation, I'm looking at all these skeptics who are spreading things that I see from my perspective as being outright, misinformation. I'm like, well, if they haven't done the research in this area that I know about, how many other areas have I accepted their word as being like, okay, that's reasonable. That seems to make sense.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh, I've got to look at all the other stuff. And I'm like, how many other times have I accepted what they were saying?
Today
Today
I read some tweets that said the white YouTuber had died, and I was sad. I'm like, oh shit, no, something bad happened to Whitey? Then I really looked into it, and I realized, no, it's bullshit. This is just a dumbass prank they're playing. Whitey's.
Yeah. So
another example. But I first read that, I'm like, oh no, that's terrible. Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. The white YouTuber is definitely dead right now. And anybody who says that they're the white YouTuber from this point on is an imposter.
No, the white YouTuber is fine.
That's not going to take off.
The white YouTuber lives. He lives in all of us. Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't think we're ever going to be able to do a double reverse prank on that. Oh well. That would be kind of funny. So, so my policy.
Oh, he's probably going to pop into the stream right now. Who knows?
No, but my policy is to be as honest and as open as I possibly can. I can understand why others would need the anonymity, and that's why I'm trying to help with that endeavor. But but for me
and you did. We went to bat for other people's anonymity, even though the two of us both have our names online.
Yeah.
And we took a hit. Look at all the hate we got for it.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and over the past couple of days, I've been getting like lots of hate and all this other stuff, and I'm like, people making outrageous claims about me because I was like, no, you guys are misstating things, and that's not how internet works. Learn to internet.
Like in that live stream we did on the Bering situation, I had someone quoted me in it saying how I wanted people to come to my site as proof I was doing it all for attention. I was clearly joking. Like, it was so obvious I was fucking around with friends and laughing. Oh,
and there was other stuff in the video. So, like, even if that was your sole intention, oh well. That's why I'm like, to say that was your only motivation is like, did you not watch the other hour of the video? Or I don't remember how long the video was. Did you not watch the other? Yeah.
If that had brought like a whole bunch of traffic to my YouTube channel, I would have been totally cool with that. Okay, all right, I would have definitely viewed it as a silver lining, but that was not my sole motivation.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there are people whose sole motivation is the popularity and is the money and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, when you think about it, that's a really piss poor way of trying to get it. Is attacking people that most of my audience are fans of.
Yeah. So
that's a terrible way to get popular.
Oh no, it's a good way to lose any progress you would have had.
Yeah, actually, I did probably lose more progress in terms of like in getting entrenched in that whole figure than I would have before. But I don't regret it one bit because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and so you always try to do the right thing, and at least
regardless. I don't care. That's the one thing that's on my mind. Is this the right thing to do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the right thing is to do in the situation with Candace, because
this situation, I'm a little less less firm, but
to me she seemed,
but again, it's because,
and to me she just seemed
she does not seem genuine.
Yeah, to me she seemed genuine, and it just seemed like a misguided effort, and it blew up in her face. But I do understand that if she is genuine, and if she is now trying to be conservative, and if she is now trying to get other people who see themselves as just black, I don't think they would actually call themselves leftists, but black Democrats or whatever. If she is trying to reach those people and get them to see reason and to see, oh, maybe the world doesn't work the way they thought it was, then the social autopsy thing was actually beneficial because it opened her eyes to the situation. So
in terms of like doing the right thing on the situation. Well, like I said before, Devin Tracy made it extremely easy by openly admitting his malicious, psychopathic intent in everything he did. He made that really easy to see.
He basically,
he was in the law.
He put on the mustache and twirled the ends of it. Yeah.
He was the guy who twirled his mustache and basically I'm a horrible person, I'm a villain, and I don't fucking care. Yeah. But whereas Candace Owens is not that kind of person, so it's a little harder to know whether she's genuine or not.
Yeah. So
it doesn't mean just because she might seem that way.
So I don't know. Right now I'm in the position that I believe her. So with that in mind. Her experiment into social autopsy is what brought her onto made her switch sides to being more right-leaning. Mm-hmm. Now, conversely, if she does have malicious intent and she does want to have this site up, regardless of the damage it can cause and all of that sort of thing, nothing that has happened over the course of last week has done anything to derail that. It's going to happen if that is her intent. If she knows what's going to happen and she wants to proceed anyway, nothing anybody says about it is going to stop that. Which that is kind of a scary thought. If she wants to put that site up and has put this much effort into it, and all she just needs is a little bit more money, that's the thing that puzzles me the most. What is the extra money for? Because everybody is telling me that there is a database and that it does have actual profiles on it, and they were actually able to search those profiles. Which that's the other thing is, the search wasn't working, which puts in my mind that there is no database behind it. So when they're bringing up these pages. I don't know how many pages there are. That will help me determine whether it's a database or not. Because if there
definitely needs more investigating. Yeah.
Yeah, which I don't know if there is a way to do that now that the actual site is down and everything is previous searches and all that sort of thing. So I didn't get a chance to do that while it was up. But
you lose, right?
Yeah. If there were more than, I would say, I don't know what a good number would be, but because they said that there was, some people are saying there were 20,000 records on there. If there was that many, then yes, that definitely indicates a database, because nobody's going to sit there and manually code 20 different pages. I don't care how many copy pastes you do, you're not going to do it 20,000 times.
No, that would be.
No, that's a new level of insanity. If there are under 100 profile pages, I could definitely see somebody doing that and hard coding that, so that way they have something they can show potential investors. And so like, hey, see, this is how the site's going to work, and you can go in and you're demonstrating that sort of thing for other people. Because from what I can see on my end, and from what I think the site was actually doing, is hard coding those pages. Now, because from what I could see is you could submit images. So that is legit. But the thing that I'm trying to tell people is file saving and a database are two different animals. So depending on what kind of database you're dealing with, you can actually store the images in the database itself. Although that does take up a lot more room. And there's reasons not to do that. So what most sites do is they have a server that stores all the images, and then they have the server that stores all the data. And so the data would store an address to that image. So there would be in two separate locations. So at setting up the spot to save files, super easy to do. That can be done in a prototype. Making the database to go with all that. That's something that usually you spend, several weeks or months building in order to make sure your database is working correctly, making sure it has all the fields that you're going to need, making sure that interfaces with your website correctly, making sure there's no way for people to inject incorrect information in your database and cause it to drop tables with SQL injection. Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to explain this without getting too technical, but I've built websites that have that upload function, and actually the upload is something that there's lots of pre-built upload functions, and a lot of these website creators will have something like that already that you can just, hey, drag and drop, and hey, now your web page can upload images to it. And so it doesn't take much coding experience to have that sort of feature, and all you have to do is say, hey, my C drive in the document section, just put all the images in there, and it will actually build your file structure and store images in there or whatever you're uploading. But that doesn't require a database. All it requires is, hey, the same place that you're reading this website from, start putting images in this folder, and it will build your folders, and it will. So that's what I was trying to explain to people, is that doesn't necessarily mean the database. The database is what allows people to search. The database is what allows people to enter information that can be later recalled. So I'm still of the opinion that that website that was up did not have a database behind it, and therefore it is extremely crippled, because what you would see, or what that website basically was without a database, is a car without the engine. You can turn it on because of the, it's the battery and the alternator or whatever, and you can play the radio and you can turn on the headlights, but you can't go anywhere.
Right. You can't go anywhere, yeah.
So all the other features of the car can work, but without the engine, it's just really nice looking and has all kinds of bells and whistles. So the engine is so the database is the engine of the website, and without that, it's a shell.
But like you said, we can't really investigate any of that because the website's down now. So it's pretty much, we have to rely on people's past information to see what was there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so the profile pages that they did bring up and they have shown, those could be the page was made and an image was uploaded, and that page has the address to the image hard coded. So that is something you wouldn't need a database to. And when you're building a prototype, you may want several different pages to demonstrate that, hey, this is working, and this is, different layouts and different information. There's reasons to have that sort of thing. And I know maybe that's me thinking, maybe that's me over justifying, because maybe there was a database and it would have been super easy to do all of that with a database, to create those dynamic pages.
Who knows? I kind of think we've come to an impasse on this issue. We've had a really good chat on this particular topic. How you been lately? I'm talking.
I guess a little under the weather. I can feel it right now with my voice getting kind of hoarse, but
I don't know.
But on vacation at the moment, so I'm mostly happy about that. I got to see Penn and Teller live, which is
that's awesome. How are Penn and Teller?
Yeah, dude, those guys are part of the reason why I have my current political perspective. So I got to meet them live, got to shake their hands, they signed my 3 clubs. So
the show
that's
Bullshit is one of the best. I love that.
Oh
show.
yeah, Bullshit. That's what kind of started me down the track towards being more libertarian and thinking about things like more skeptically, I guess. Although I don't really like the term skeptic, because that's I want another term, but skeptic seems to be the most applicable to me.
Well, skeptic is really, it's in general, it's what people should be. They should basically not believe what they hear, basically. That's all skepticism ultimately is to test claims that are given to you and not listen and believe. All right, that's really the heart of what skepticism is.
Yeah, but some people are skeptic of things that, like, wait, are you seriously? You're questioning that? So I don't know. So there's some people that call themselves skeptics and that are skeptics, and they're
Armored Skeptic, for example, when he did
Armored Skeptic video on that I'm like, I don't know why people follow you. A lot of your arguments are so fallacious. A lot of your
see that you use skepticism to show Armored Skeptic was full of shit.
Yeah, he does rely on a lot of ad hominem. Yeah, but
I mean, he's made some good content, but yeah, that video on Canadian law and logic showing how amazingly wrong it was on so many things. how it just got nothing right, how so many details were just complete and total lies. I unsubscribed. I'm like, you know what? This guy didn't do any research. He didn't do jack shit. And he only puts out like one video, two videos a month, and it's just, and he doesn't have a job. He doesn't work full time like I do or you do. Okay, this YouTube's his job. That's all he could do. What a lazy son of a bitch.
I don't know. It seems like people hold other YouTubers to a higher standard.
Well, when you got a big following, and you can, and you have lots of money that you could invest in your research, you have all the time in the world because you don't have to work a full-time job, and he doesn't have any kids, so he doesn't even have to invest in kids. So he has all the time in the world to make good content.
You said he doesn't have any kids, and I was like, he's got June.
Huh?
Shoe on head.
Yeah. He's got.
Yeah, she looks young. I thought that's a joke.
She does look young. Yeah, she's kind of his little sex slave, is she not?
I mean, can you blame him? I don't know.
She was cute, I guess.
Yeah. But the problem I have with the skeptics is the same thing that I'm seeing right now, or at least, I mean, this is my perspective on the whole Candace situation is they're looking at it like, oh, she's not genuine, she's not real. And a lot of them are like, like the same thing they did with Lacey Green, and they're like anybody else, or like people are still saying that about Dave Rubin, and you're like, no, but he's not really, he's just, he's just trying to do this for money, and like, he doesn't really believe what he says he believes. And you're like, so at some point you have to put some kind of trust in what people are saying. Maybe not to listen and believe, but at some point you're going to have to trust people. Like, you can't go through life questioning everything everybody says, because then how do you validate anything? You're like, well, I would agree. Well, I disagree with you, and here's why. Oh, but I disagree with that source, and here's why. I disagree with that. So, like, at some point, you have to put your trust in something. And well, that's one of the things is a lot of people are using these scholarly articles and these peer-reviewed things, but I know a lot of people who, and actually I was talking to, it was this last July last June, when I was in Chicago at a conference. I was talking to someone who was actually, a really, really smart guy, had his PhD in biology, and he quit all that because he hated the way his fellow scientists and researchers were acting, because he wrote up this paper, presented it, and was like, okay, this is huge in my field, because this kind of changes everything that we know about this. But I mean, I've had other people look at this, and they can't find any flaws in my thinking and my logic, and he couldn't get his paper even submitted to that scholarly article, or to scholarly journals for them to peer review, because it was a political thing. So if his paper had been published, a lot of people would have lost their jobs, because their area that they were researching would be completely pointless. And so they're like, nope, you're wrong. You can't possibly be right. They wouldn't tell him why he was wrong, but they kept dismissing everything he was trying to do. And he did eventually get his paper published, only because the publisher of that journal knew him personally. No, sorry, he didn't get it published, but he had the opportunity to get it published because someone knew him, and that was and so like, again, I'm trusting his version of the story here. When he was talking about, the whole situation, I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense, because I know there are other people who make that same sorts of claims about those peer-reviewed journals. So he could have had his paper published had he played the politics game, but it would have only been published because of who he knew, as opposed to what his findings would have done for the scientific community. And so then that puts my perspective on, like, I still use scientific or peer-reviewed journals and peer-reviewed articles to support some of the stuff that I'm claiming, and some of the stuff that I put in my videos, and I always try to go back to the source of the source, sort of thing. But at some point, you're trusting people, and maybe the information there is correct, or maybe it's not the complete story because the other side got shut down. But at some point, you have to put your trust somewhere,
right?
Which is something. Like, I don't know how you can go through life without trusting something.
Yeah, trusting people, though, who knows? Because people can manipulate you. Look at all those who were taken for fool by pagan Minotaur. Remember that whole fiasco there?
Yeah. I mean, that's because you want to believe people, but the more people
What do you want?
you trust, the less you trust.
Yeah, I kind of just like felt bad for all the people involved in that. I mean, just because they just wanted to help out this guy they thought was a friend of theirs, and he was a lying, deceitful little shithead, you know?
Yeah.
And he just took advantage of them. I made that joke that was intended at his expense, and it got some fans pissed at me.
The lady that got upset with you, I don't understand, because I was like, what? Because I understood the joke immediately, and maybe that's because I know you. Maybe from the outside looking in, it looks like you're making fun of them, but I was like, dude, that is satire, or
satire of pagan Minotaur story. Basically, it was
like that's at his expense, or at least
that is at his expense.
Yeah, I mean, I saw no difference between that and when Alec Baldwin plays Trump on his show and says stupid things, and you're like, oh, he's not making fun of the people. Like, he's making fun of Trump by making Trump say stupid things. Yeah, that's that form of comedy. So right, I got it, but.
Listen and believe me, because they can smell my farts from 7 blocks away.
You're playing an absurd character saying absurd things. That's
as the joke. Yes,
that's the joke.
And that's another thing. What was it? Even if the joke had been at the expense of the people who believed him, they're like you said. That's not.
They're not. That's not like you can't.
Comedy.
They're the sacred cows. They're the gods of the internet. You can't make fun of them. No. If they fuck up,
I can make fun of them.
You can make fun of them.
And let's be honest, they did fuck up in this case. They know they fucked up, and their hearts seem to be in the right place, but they fucked up. Okay.
Yeah.
I fucked up too, so I don't think that makes them terrible people.
No, yeah. If I ever do something like that, call me out on that shit. I mean, when you see that's what this is you saw me doing something that you're like, wait a minute, you're calling me out on it.
Inconsistency on your tweet about your tweet on the doxing children thing, and I recalled back to the whole AIU drama we were at, and I'm like, this doesn't seem to fit together. Why is Devin Tracy doxing children okay, but you're giving more of the benefit.
When you're limited to 140 characters, it's a little difficult to build an argument.
Right.
Because
it is a little difficult. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this, not tweet about it on Twitter. That's why I didn't really reply much.
So I was trying to build my case point by point and saying, like, okay, from her perspective, this happens, then this happens, and this happens. And actually, from that point of view, all of that makes sense. Until you realize that, but that's just the tip of the iceberg behind her website. The whole iceberg underneath that would cause all the damage, the tip of the iceberg of Social Autopsy, I kind of agree with the overall intention of it. The underneath all the stuff that would happen and is unavoidably going to happen when that site gets, if that site gets launched. Yeah, that is the huge iceberg that will sink the Titanic. That's well, I mean, by sink the Titanic, I mean probably sink a bunch of people's careers and cause irreparable damage based on and everybody's just gonna leave social media because they're like, oh, dude, it's gonna be used as a weapon against me. It's not worth it.
A lot of people were comparing it to a plot in a recent season of South Park, and it is very similar.
Oh yeah, yeah, it is Trollface, right? Wasn't that the name?
Yeah, the Trollface, yes.
Yeah. That's what it might have been based off of Social Autopsy, because I mean, Social Autopsy is at the same time, right?
Now think about that. Yes, cartoons are now being used as a template for reality. Okay, they're now looking at comedy cartoons, and now it's that's based some ideas on.
No, I think the cartoon was based off of the Social Autopsy. If Social Autopsy was based off of South Park, you're doing it all kinds of wrong.
Oh yeah, that actually would be hilarious if that was true. I mean, South Park, they've ripped the piss. They've done some really brilliant satire over the years, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if it wasn't specifically Social Autopsy, there is a bunch of that sort of. See, that's the part that See, that's the
Skank
part that
Hunter
sells
42,
the
yes.
story to me the most, because that is something that the left is actually fighting for, and they're trying to get more of that sort of thing on YouTube and on Facebook, and they're trying to institute these measures to block out dissenting opinions. So you would think something like social autopsy, they would be gung-ho about. They wouldn't care about all the damage it's going to cause. They would be like, hey, this gives us power over people who disagree with us. This would be amazing for us. And yet they dismiss it. And I'm like, that
good principle. That shows kind of good principles, doesn't it?
But the left,
anyone who sees this,
but I'm saying the left doesn't have principles. They've shown that deliberately in multiple occasions.
I mean, what is it? Even the Young Turks were calling this is a bad idea. For fuck's sake, the Young Turks even knew this was a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
Or, like, but the left support Hillary. So that's why I'm like, when have they ever called something a bad idea when it was obviously a bad idea? Like, what other situation have you been like, oh yeah, they called that something terrible, and I agree with them? Like, outside of this, like, how many other times have they declared something as evil or bad or so far gone that you were like, you know what, I actually agree? Like, the only thing I can think of is war, but that's never been a left-only position as far as I know.
No, definitely.
But for some reason they're only against certain wars.
But online
I'm trying to find consistency on their end.
Right. There's not really much consistency left, or even like more basic forms, anti-social justice versus pro-social justice in terms of online anonymity. All right, more social people on the more social justice side have generally been more pro-doxing.
Oh, okay, yeah, that actually brings to mind something I was gonna say, because actually Poll actually committed doxing when they identified that professor that hit the guy in the head with the lock, because that's what they did, is they took they took pictures of him from that incident, and they searched and found his Facebook profile, and that's how they figured out who the guy was. I guess it's not technically doxing, because there was the malicious intent wasn't there, and actually the guy had done something that was illegal. He participated in battery.
You're breaking up a little bit. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, what?
You're breaking up a little bit. I couldn't hear that.
Oh, I was saying when Poll identified the guy at the Antifa rally, so the guy who hit the guy in the head with the block, or with the lock.
Oh yeah.
That they essentially did what social autopsy was trying to do for.
But that's different. That's very different.
It's different because
that's actually
a physical act. Yeah.
It's a crime, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, when you commit a crime, a serious violent crime, you got to be found out. Okay, that's your anonymity disappears when you commit a crime. Like, actually, this is funny. Actually, I remember when the skeptic feminist committed that murder, and sites were reporting his real name after he did that, after he was arrested. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And Devin Tracy was saying that people who were calling him by his real name were hypocrites for because they're doxing him. Oh, it's just like what I did. No, it's not, motherfucker. No, it is not. He's a murderer, you son of a bitch. He's not someone who called you racist on the internet.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah,
fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Once you have done something that violates the rights of other people like that, then you no longer have those rights. You no longer have the same.
No, you don't have. Your anonymity's gone when you commit a murder. Fuck you after that. He's a murderer. Yeah. He loses his anonymity.
Yeah, this is, I mean, let's see, what time is it right now?
It's 8:20 where I'm at. I'm probably.
Yeah, it's about 5:20. Yeah.
We can probably start waiting this down because I got to work in the morning.
Okay. Yeah, and I've got to do a stream about abortion with the other guys. So, I mean, you'll probably join us on there, but.
I might join for briefly, but I mostly got to get to bed right now. But thank you for joining me, HUMANe. It was a very good discussion.
Yeah. So right now, I think we're both in the I don't know.
We're both in the I don't know, but we had a good discussion. We discussed a lot of good things, so it was a good time. All right.
All right.
All right, and see you later, everybody. Bye.